All right. That's what she said. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the Sully Squad. We got a big show tonight. Flyer, I know a lot of people. We talk here each week. We sit here, we talk Philly sports, and it's been a while since we've really talked some serious Flyers. But I got to admit, the Flyers are they're kind of in a dead time in sports. The Flyers are kind of becoming a story here. I mean, for the first time in a while, they've been trying to compete with Band-Aids all these years. The Chuck Fletcher era, I think, we all kind of agree was mostly a disaster. And, they're looks like they're entering their rebuilding stage, and Danny Briere and Keith Jones are trying to get their Sam Hinkie on. So we're going to get into a lot of that tonight. We got special guest Bill Meltzer coming on with us in a few minutes, and we're going to discuss some Flyers talk. I got my usual cast here. I got my man. I'll start with Kilrain below me. I got my man Sean Kilrain with the Sixers John below me. What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
What's up, man? Chilling, man. Just ready to get this
started.
Talk some Flyers.
Yeah. And
okay, the killer.
I got my man, Mr. Mike. Right next to Sean, I got my man, Mr. 6 for 6, Diego Bianchi, the Hammer. What's up, dog? How you doing?
What's up, Barry? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. And
good, man. Chilling.
And last but not least, I got my man that always brings the energy. He's all flyered up in his Rick Tocchet throwback, John. My man, Mike Fuji. What's up, dog? How you doing, man?
1 month away from training camp. Phil's taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets. NHL draft. Bill Meltzer coming to the party tonight. How's everybody doing? Let's get Flyer up. How the hell is everybody tonight? Let's go.
Hey, I'll tell you all what, man. I haven't been flyered up in a long time. I mean, I can't even remember.
Good. I'm not on your
line. It's been a long time since this franchise used to be. I would say they were the class of the city, even though they haven't won a Stanley Cup in almost 50 years. I mean, they made it to the Stanley Cup finals like about 10 times since. But this team, probably in the last 7-8 years, is just maybe a little less than that. Just really ever since like 2010. I mean, God, it's been 13 years since they were in the Cup, and this franchise has just gone down. Ed Snyder passing away a couple of years ago. They pretty much, they traded Voracek, got rid of Giroux. I'm ready to say Simone Gagne.
Yeah.
This team was in the playoffs every year. They would put a hell of a product out on the ice. It's just kind of a shame that, you gave up guys like Bob Roski, who just got the Panthers at a Stanley Cup. What a disgrace of a trade by Paul Holmgren. And I'll say this, going back not long ago, I blame Paul Holmgren for getting rid of a guy like Bob Roski for Steve Mason. Just a disgrace. You give up on a guy like Patrick Sharp that Clark did. Won 3 cups with the Blackhawks. Just, Flyers like I said, Flyers hockey was, you couldn't even get a ticket for a Flyers game. I mean, this team may not have brought home the cup, but they were in the playoff hunt for years. Just jumping on the trade deadline, everybody just waiting for that. They don't even talk Flyers hockey anymore. And, it's sad. But hopefully, Briere, and Keith Jones will resurrect this, turn this team around fast, maybe within the couple years. But it's about time to talk some Flyers.
Yeah, well, so you brought up, like you said, the 2010 team. I mean, first off, I mean that run was a kind of a miracle. I mean, if you think about it, I mean they barely made the playoffs. They got a nice draw in the Devils, and not to crap on it because they did make a nice run. But if you remember that year, they got to play the 8 seeded Montreal Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Flyers were a 7 seed. Now, not taking anything away from the Flyers, they had a great run. But let's keep it real. The last time they were really, really, really relevant was back in these guys' days, the Legion of Doom.
Legion
That
of
was the
Doom,
last
baby.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those Flyers teams back. I remember being in high school, man, and you know what I mean. And we would play, we play street hockey. Remember, Sean? We would play street hockey at the church. The little church parking lot, and
we had the goals.
Fedora would play goal, and then at times we would drive over to like Thornton and Comley. We put like the hockey net on the car. We'd have like 2 dudes holding the net on the car, and then we would go to Johnny Tietz's house and watch the playoff games. And we watched Flyers. We watched Flyers. Devils the one year, and that, like you said, Mike. I mean, the Flyers were always in the running. I mean, they haven't won a cup since 1975, but back in the day, I mean, you could always count on them either being in the Stanley Cup Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, they were one of the best teams in hockey for every year. And now we look, and it's like hockey is. I mean, I think hockey's kind of it's almost going down to the level of the team that Diego covers and in the Union. To be honest with you, I mean, there's
even be lower than that. I mean, it's a shame because, I'll say this: I was 2.5 years old, and the Flyers won their first cup. Well, I don't remember it. My mom put me in a Flyers jersey, bought me a hockey stick, ran down the Chamonix Mall, Oxford Valley Mall, yelling "score." All I basically remember was Bobby Clark, and it was, actually, Flyers were my first love before this very team behind me. But but Flyers hockey was Flyers hockey.
Yeah, but back then, they were legit back then. You had Bernie Parent, you had Bobby Clark. I even had a Bobby Clark stick hand me down from my cousin. But like you said, that they were the Broad Street Bullies. It was always awesome to watch.
Yeah, but as that team got older, though, you had they always drafted well. I mean, they drafted Pelly. You had Brian Propp. You had Tim Kerr was always underrated. Guy was a 50, 60 goal scorer. It's a shame his shoulder injury just did him in. I mean, you had other guys, Dave Poland. I'll say this. I'll go back to that 86, 87 team. I think that team was one of the most, if not my favorite team besides Eagles Super Bowl run to ever win anything in this town. They might not have the best. They had great talent. They took Edmonton to 7 games. I mean, like Wayne Gretzky said about Ron Hextall, the greatest goaltender he ever faced. The Flyers were down 6 out of 7 games. They went back to Edmonton, scored 1-0. That's the only game that they were ahead in, that they didn't come from behind to win.
Yeah, hey, I agree with you, Mike. But hey, and that was the very first year I started watching hockey too. So I fell in love with the Flyers that year myself. But we got Bill Meltzer's ready to hop on here. So let's let me add Bill on here. Hey, Bill, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How you guys?
Pretty good.
Man.
Really
Bill, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate you hopping on, and thanks for taking the time. And I don't know if you caught us, but we were, we're in, obviously the Flyers are in the midst of this rebuild, and some of us guys, we were reminiscing about the old, the older days. I mean, the first year I started watching hockey was 86, 87 when they made that run versus Edmonton, and back then you had, of course, Hextall, and then a few years earlier, I know you wrote a book about Pelly Lindbergh. And they they were always in the running all those years. I mean, what's your thought on this rebuilding project? I mean, are you kind of looking forward to not using the Band-Aids anymore?
Well, for sure. Obviously, you go the rebuild route. It's critical that you draft right, and there's always an element of luck involved in the draft. There's no two ways around it. You can draft the right guy, and then he tears his ACL, and suddenly it can alter his career path. So you cross your fingers a little bit for injury luck. You hope you develop him the right way, and that's really the key. If you remember during Hexie's year, he was attempting like a mini rebuild. He was trying to restock the farm system while keeping the team at least a bubble playoff contender. It can work as long as you develop a succession plan, and some of those guys end up becoming your central pieces, and that didn't happen. They never found those central pieces, and meanwhile, Giroux got a year older at a time, and Voracek and Simmons. So that group they had, that was a good group of players, but they didn't truly replace them. And now they're looking for guys who will be the nucleus guys in a rebuild. And I think Gauthier could be one of those guys, Cutter Gauthier. This year in a deep draft, it's crucial that they get it right. And also you create a cap plan for the long term too. Flyers are still digging out some salary cap issues. It's exciting to watch. The flip side of that, of course, is that you sometimes have to take one step back to take two steps forward. Right. And I think that I think people do need to realize that next season they might have a worse record than they did this past year. But hopefully it's done with the design in mind that you improve thereafter with each successive season.
Talking about the draft and picking right, if Mikakov, if he's there at 7, should the Flyers pull the trigger on him?
At 7? No, absolutely. I mean, he has superstar goal scoring potential. I don't think he gets to 7, and I think the price of trading up is too high. I'm not really optimistic of the Flyers getting Michkov, but the good news is that there's plenty of depth in this draft, so you should still get a good player no matter what. There's a couple who seem to be really good fits for what the Flyers are trying to do. So this year's a good year to have a number of picks. I mean, the Flyers have 2 right now, on the 7th overall, the 22nd, and it sounds like they're trying to get at least one more first rounder. So this year, if you play your cards right, you could get 3 future NHL players in the first round, and at least one guy who's an impact kind of NHL player. So, it'd be nice to get Michkov. He's that world-class sniper, highly creative player. Other than him falling to 7, my only other concern is it's not that he signed in Russia for 3 more years, because the Flyers can wait 3 years. But if you know what Kirill Kaprizov of now the Wild did, he had the 3 years after the draft, and the Wild said, okay, he's coming over. Then he signed on in Russia for 2 more years, and then he ended up coming over at 24 years old. And he's been a great NHL player, but the Flyers aren't in position to wait 5 years, 6 years on him. So, and so far at least he hasn't committed. I'm definitely coming in 3. So that might be a reason he dropped, but that also might give the Flyers some reason to worry about, is this the right fit, because we might not want to wait that long. So I think that's kind of what they're looking at. But talent-wise, no doubt he's a special player.
So if he's off the board, who should the Flyers be targeting at the 7th pick?
I think that there's a couple of targets if they get to number 7. I've heard, and I'm not surprised, that they really like an American player named Ryan Leonard. The U.S. National Development Team program this year had just a phenomenal first line. All three guys are potential top 10 picks. Probably heard of Will Smith. He'll be off the board for the Flyers pick at 7. The guy they really like is Leonard, who's high energy, very physical, powerfully built, but also very fast and and tenacious player with a big shot. He's one of the best shots, one of the best shooters in the draft. So that's a guy who might eventually wear a letter for you, win a lot of puck battles, and make guys around him better on top of it being a goal scorer too. There's rumors that Montreal might be targeting Leonard at number 5. So I don't know that he gets to the Flyers. If he does get to the Flyers, then I think that's your pick. Barring Michkov somehow slipping.
Mm-hmm.
The other alternative, there's a Slovakian center by the name of Dalibor Dvorsky, and if you guys, I'm sure you guys remember Michael Hanzus. Very similar kind of a player, except a little bit better of a skater. Dvorsky's largely considered to be either the best defensive center or the second best defensive center in this draft. If you look at what he just did in the World Juniors, he went head-to-head with Connor Bedard and head-to-head with Joachim Kemmel, who's a Finnish player, who's another first-round pick, and also head-to-head with his name is slipping. It shouldn't, but at any rate, he basically shut those guys down. Even Bedard, he held his line to 1 goal. So I think that's that might be their pick. If it comes that way, but they might be the team that takes the first defenseman off the board too. There's some years that once you get past the top 5, there's a big drop off.
Mm-hmm.
There's a drop off this year too, but it's not a big drop off. There's a lot of quality. Even at 22nd, they should get a good player. So, but you look at what the Flyers are trying to build, the kind of identity, the kind of team that John Tortorella wants them to be. I don't know that Michkov is that guy. No. Michkov, if Torts is still coaching the Flyers in 3 years, and I only say that because Torts is in his mid-60s. So, if he wants to keep on coaching, then he'll keep on coaching. But I can see Michkov driving him a little bit crazy, the same way Patrick Laine drove him a little bit crazy. Okay. So I'm not positive he's the best fit for what they're trying to build, but he's the most gifted guy. But that's where I think they might go.
Bill, as far as all these trade rumors swirling on, do you see any deals getting done from your inside sources? And also, do you see the Flyers trading Sanheim as well?
Well, they have till July 1st to do that. On July 1st, his 8-year contract kicks in, and has a total no trade for the first 4 years. So that's honestly that deal's the new contract is honestly why they want to trade him if they can, because that's a long time tied in the big price tag.
Big time.
They just traded Provorov, so it's risky to trade that many minutes off the blue line. There are different pairings, and Sanheim's been a 20-minute-a-night guy, and Provorov is a 24-minute-a-night guy. Right now, they don't have anything to replace them. But I think that just in terms of tying yourself in for 8 years at Sanheim, that's why they're looking to trade him. It sounds like if they can work this deal with St. Louis out, that's widely rumored, and it all depends on Torrey Krug waiving his no trade, which so far he's refused to do. And the alternative is, well, if Krug won't wait for Philadelphia, maybe he'll wait for another team, and it could be a 3-team trade. Flyers then flip him to where he'll go, and they get something back in return. If they can move Sanheim, they will. And also, it sounds like they've been talking to Winnipeg as a possibility for Sanheim as well. So, and that which makes sense. Sanheim is a Manitoba kid. The Jets have been rumored with Sanheim forever, even going back to the 2014 draft. Mm-hmm. So it's been 9 years in and off and on rather that he's been in rumors with the Jets. So I could see that, but time is ticking because once you get to July 1st, then it becomes almost impossible to do.
As far as salary cap wise, where would you say the Flyers are right now, and do they really have a lot of money to spend going into free agency?
They're not going to be too active in free agency this year.
I know they're pretty much in purgatory, cap purgatory.
Yeah, and this year is a pretty uninspiring free agent crop anyway. Mm-hmm. It's not, and the other problem with free agency, is you saw with the Kevin Hayes contract, he didn't get the free agency. The Flyers traded for his negotiating rights, but they had to pay him open market prices, which always means you overpay.
Right.
I think they'll be okay salary cap wise. It sounds like one way or another Hayes is getting dealt. and even if they retain part of it, they get some relief on him. They got some relief on Provorov with that trade, and if you can deal Sanheim, they're not, then you're in pretty good shape. They're not looking to add any long-term guys, so the cap is supposed to take a much bigger jump a year from now, and so as you know, and if they're not tying themselves into long-term deals, then they should be okay. Should be okay cap-wise by the time they're ready to compete again.
Right.
But the things I would keep in mind in terms of the salary cap is you're only allowed to retain money on 3 players.
Right.
They didn't have to retain anything on Provorov, but they absolutely have to retain on Hayes, and if Tony DeAngelo gets moved, you're going to retain on him too. So that would only allow you one more trade where you could retain.
Man,
Well, that's what I was going to ask about Tony DeAngelo. Do you think that because something's going on with the CBA where he can't be moved back? Do you think that deal eventually gets done and he does get shipped back to Carolina?
I do. I truthfully think it's kind of a ridiculous reason. But as long as the Flyers wait until I think it's July the 9th, then they could do the trade as is. It's not. You're not getting anything in return, though. It's just truly just to get rid of the player,
right?
Largely because Torts doesn't want him back, and and he's unrestricted free agent in a year anyway. But it just sounds like the Flyers are inclined to just kind of cut ties right now,
right?
So that's but yeah, I think that one way or another that one goes down, and even if you wait till July 9th on it.
I got one. So number one is do you think there's any way that they, I hear they're listening to everybody. Do you think they would possibly trade TK if they got a good offer? And also, I know Couturier is coming off a major injury, so obviously he has no value right now. But do you think it's possible around the trade deadline, if he shows he's healthy, that maybe Couturier could be moved and maybe they could eat some of that salary?
Well, with Couturier, I mean, if he's able to get back to where he was before, that's really big for the Flyers. But I don't know. He hasn't played hockey in a season and a half.
Right.
He's had 2 back surgeries. He's now in his 30s, and it's tough. The biggest thing too is that he signed an 8-year extension that has 7 years to go on it. So
wow.
That's tough to trade.
Wow.
Gotcha.
As far as TK goes, just real quick, the Flyers will only trade Konechny if somebody blows them away with an offer, and that's where they have a lot of leverage here. They could get a very good return on Konechny if they were to pull the trigger on something like that.
Yeah, got a comment here. Adam Popple has a question. He says, if the Flyers trade Sanheim and DeAngelo, what's their defense going to be? What's funny? That's almost like I remember the Sixers went into a year with no point guards just to try to lose. Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe that's what the Flyers are trying to do.
Yeah, if they trade Sanheim, I mean, you have a lot of minutes to fill, and nothing proven to fill it. That's one of the things that this could be a really long year. I mean, well, they would hope that a couple guys would step up for the minors. A Ronnie Attard, maybe not a top pairing guy, but a big right-handed shot, can play on the power play, that kind of thing. In longer term, they like a Swedish defenseman, Emil Andre.
Okay.
He's small, but he's very skilled. But no, you're not there. There's no guy. This is our 25-minute a night guy. They just don't have it right. So, that's if Krug were to agree to waive for Philly, I mean, he'd step on. He'd play in your first power play unit. He's not a shutdown defenseman though. So the blue line would be a big puzzle to sort out. I guess the flip side of that being that Keith Jones and to a degree also Danny Briere had said that building the blue line is a big number one priority. So as you create some space, hopefully you can develop some players. But there's nobody ready to step in who's going to be a top pairing guy, and I don't know. That's one of my big concerns. That's the main area they're going to have to build. And this year's draft is very forward heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There's some decent defensemen, but I don't know if there's like a really first pairing kind of defenseman this year. So I don't think that's coming immediately. But that long term, that's definitely an area you watch to see if they can build.
Bill, as far good.
No, I'm go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Bill, I was going to ask you this question. What's your take of since the Flyers named Danny Briere, brought in Patrick Sharp and John LeClaire as far as the front office? What's your take of this new regime?
Well, very hockey smart people, very energetic people. I'm optimistic with Danny as the general manager. The role that Patrick Sharp and LeClaire fill, they're not. I mean, they work with the front office, but they're not decision makers.
Right.
A lot of what they're going to do is they're going to look at players in the system, and they're going to go, this guy can play, or this guy I don't think he's being used the right way. To me, and you look at Johnny, right? You look at Johnny's career. He was a center in Montreal. He was a third line center.
Right.
When he came to Philadelphia, Terry Murray moved him to left wing, and then the Legion of Doom was born. But he was he was a semi-successful third line center in Montreal. He scored 2 overtime goals in the Stanley Cup Finals, but he wasn't a star in Montreal. Then all of a sudden he comes to Philly, changes position, move him up in the lineup, and lo and behold, he became the John LeClaire that we all knew. And Patrick Sharp was also right. He was a slow developing player, and unfortunately for the Flyers pulled the trigger, traded him to Chicago, and he became a star there instead.
Right.
But there's sometimes those guys who took a while, like Danny. Danny's another guy. Danny went through waivers. He was a first round pick, but he was kind of failing in for the Coyotes. Went through waivers, goes to Buffalo, and then all of a sudden he clicks there. So I think that these guys understand the importance of patience, but they also know, okay, this guy is worth being patient with. This guy might need to play a different position, or this guy just might not be worth the trouble. And that will also include NHL level guys, right? Young players in the team. I think their advice in that area, their opinions, are very valuable. Being able to know who can and can't play, and being able to know who can and can't play in Philadelphia too, because this is a high pressure market. We know how passionate the fan base is. The flip side is it's a lot of pressure, and not everybody can handle it. So I think I think for their particular role, having guys who played here is actually a positive. If they were hired as director of scouting with no experience or something, that would worry me a little bit more. But I think that it's a promising group. But as with everything else, it's all based on results. So you look at it 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, maybe. Hey, is this working? Is this not working? But it's I think they have good people.
Right.
Definitely. Sean, did you have a
With
question?
the goalie situation, what do you see? Yeah, with the goalie situation, with Carter Hart rumored to be traded, and the Russian goalie and the Finnish goalie, where do you see it going? How's it going to?
I mean, I'd be reluctant to trade Carter Hart still. How long do the Flyers wait for a number one goalie?
Long time.
Yeah, absolutely, darn right. and I mean, Hart's only 24 years old. Hart is goalies develop later, and Henrik Lundqvist was just elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? Henrik Lundqvist at age 24 was just getting into the NHL. Wow. Goalies tend to take longer to develop, and they said there are rookies that are Carter Hart's age, and he's done quite a lot of good things so far. Now there's other stuff too, right? He could be an unrestricted free agent in 2 years. You look at that. You look at what might go on with the Hockey Canada investigation, and Hart's not the only player involved in that whole junior team, but you wait and you see how that turns out. I just don't think now is the time to pull the trigger. On that being said, the Flyers do seem to have depth in the system in terms of goalies. Samuel Ersson is a good prospect. He showed plenty of promise last year with the Phantoms and with the Flyers. He ran out of gas a little bit at the end, but he's a good prospect. They really, really like this goalie from Russia, Alexei Kolosov.
Okay.
Everybody talks about Fedotov, the 28-year-old, the one who was detained in Russia and had to serve a year in the military.
Right.
He might still come over this year. His military service ends at the end of July, and the Flyers extended his contract one further season. So if he comes, we'll see. I mean, to me, he's going to be 28 years old. He missed a whole year of hockey. I'm not counting on anything from him. But I do like Urson and I do like Kolosov quite a bit. So they still might have a pretty good future and go even without Carter. But right now I'm not comfortable enough to say this guy is ready. This guy can step in. I'd wait another year on Hart.
Yeah,
Definitely.
To piggyback off your point on Hart, I still remember Maxime Ouellet back in the day. Remember him? He was
absolutely. And he for first round pick.
Yeah.
And actually made his NHL debut at age 19. And the Hockey News rated him the best goalie prospect in the NHL. And he started for Team Canada, the World Juniors, and then he flopped.
Right.
And
so
that happens.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for goalies all these years. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I started watching Hextall's rookie year, and we didn't have a goal. We haven't had a goal. I'm going to be 45. We didn't have a goalie all this time until Carter Hart. When you really think about it.
Yeah, and if you guys remember back in the mid 90s, 95 they draft Brian Boucher in the first round, and then 97 it wasn't a first. The Flyers' first pick wasn't until the second round, but they used that on the goalie. Jean-Marc Peltier. And then the year after that, they draft Ouellet in the first round. And they also that same year they also draft Anton Niedermaki in the sixth round. And although I would say that although I'd say Bush ended up as the best goalie of that bunch, Niedermaki was probably the second best, and he was the sixth round guy.
Well, then they draft Czechmanek.
They drafted Czechmanek, I think, in 2001.
Right.
Now he was 29 years old by then. And his Czech team had won 5 straight championships, but they were bankrupt. Okay. So he came over to North America at that point, and he had a lot of regular season success in Philly, but just the playoffs were the issue.
It's just a shame he was the backup to Dominik Hasek all those years with the Czech Republic.
For sure.
I got a comment here. Miko Spencer has a question for you. He says, Pelle Lindbergh, was he one of your favorites for writing? I guess for the book writing. Oh, sure.
Well, I love those entire teams. I heard a little bit of what you guys were saying right before I came on the air. I think I was born just the perfect time to follow the Flyers. When I was a little kid, it was the Broad Street Bullies era. So one of my first memory, I was 4 years old at the time, was the Flyers winning the Stanley Cup, their first one. And I just remember we watched it on a black and white TV set at my aunt's house. And I remember driving, because I lived in Northeast Philly. We're driving down Busselton Avenue, and people are pounding on the roof of the car. It was just such an exciting scene. And I loved, and Bobby Clarke was my first superhero. Pretty much everybody of that generation. And you talk about Bobby Clarke hockey stick, the Milik street hockey stick with the orange blade. Yeah, I still have mine. Have mine. So I loved those teams. But the teams are really the teams of my heart, more than any of all, because the game. As a little kid, you don't really understand the game. The teams that were the teams of my heart were the mid '80s teams, the Keenan.
Oh yeah, 85, 87.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. That was the heart of the team, right? That was the height of the era, and so Pelle was certainly one of my favorites. My all-time favorite is Mark Howe. If I could have been any hockey player, it would have been Howie. But Pelle was certainly a favorite. But I love Kerr, Prop, Poulin, Marshy.
I love Dave Brown.
Oh, and Brownie. I mean, Brownie was a tough guy who could play. But I mean, Brownie was just a machine when he would fight. Those left-handed bombs that he would rain down on guys. I mean, he was just
Craig Berube. He was another banger.
Those fights were memorable.
Oh, those were.
Kroger.
Yeah, those
it's
were
like you're watching a boxing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's right up my alley. Those are my favorite era of teams. So I love Pelle, but it wasn't just Pelle.
Well, you remember when 84, 85, when they brought up Rick Tock and Peter Zezel and Derek Smith. I mean, they were a nice nucleus to the props, the Kerrs, Dave Poulin.
Yep. They were kids. They were just kids. They were 20 years old. Most those guys you just mentioned.
I mean, Taka came in as a fighter, and look how he panned out You know, to be
Yeah, exactly.
a player.
Worked his tail off and became a 40-goal scorer.
Yeah.
And not just once. I mean, and Talk is one of my favorite people too.
Well,
So
who's on this jersey, and it
Yeah.
still fits me. Believe me.
yeah.
Bill, I
But
have
it's
a
good show.
question for you. I mean, going
Yeah,
back
sure.
yesteryear, like why did Mike Keenan get fired in your opinion? Was it really because he was overworking these guys and they just couldn't handle it? Going back to that era.
You know, what happened with Mike is that the team almost quit on him more than once.
Right.
And the guys who held everything together, it was Poulin, it was it was Marshy, and he was so hard on the young guys. When he didn't mean things personally,
Right.
the players took some of this stuff personally. Like for example, he was really hard on, he was really tough on Scott Mellenby, just as one example.
Mhm.
And Scotty's father used to be the producer of Hockey Night in Canada.
Okay.
And he said, you're just a spoiled rich kid. You've never worked for anything in your life. What you would do to light a fire on him and make him pissed, right?
All right.
But you're 21 years old. You take that kind of thing personally.
Right.
And
Of course.
you start thinking the coach hates you. And you multiply that by 10, 11 guys on the team. And listen, we've been to 2 cup finals, whatever. I don't want to listen to this guy anymore. And it got to the point where the team just couldn't be reeled back in. And so even though they were still having success, the guys like Poulin, they kept everybody in line and kept them moving forward. You're listening to what Keenan wanted. They weren't listening anymore, and that's when you need a change.
Oh, I think it just blew my mind. I mean, I was 15, 16 years old at the time, and it was like Keenan got to the Flyers 85 and 87 in the Cup. Art. They got knocked out by Washington in the first round. And it was like, How the hell do you just fire the guy that got you to the Stanley Cup 2 out of the last 3-4 years?
It was things like it was definitely all behind the scenes stuff. I'll give you one more example. Like there was never, Flyers had very few leaders that were better than Brad Marsh, and nobody ever questioned Marshy's heart or anything like that. And if you remember, the same game where Hexie scored his first goal, which was against Boston,
right,
was the same game where Marsh ended up having his head run into the stanchion, and the back of his head hit the ice, and he was in the hospital. And a lot more is known about concussions now than was known then. But Marshy just was not the same player the rest of the year. And Keenan just stayed on his ass the whole time. Told him that he was satisfied by his new contract, that he'd gotten lazy. None of that was true. But when Marsh came back, he was scratched 2 games at one point, and then Keenan actually threw his uniform in the hallway, told him to go get dressed, basically in a broom closet.
Wow.
Jeez.
And that was the way Keenan motivated, but it only works for so long. It was stuff like that the team we've had it with this guy.
I mean, when Hextall was a rookie, I believe Brad Marsh took Hextall under his wing, really to like settle him down and
Oh yeah, and the funniest thing is too, guys, that you talk to Hexie and he's very quiet and very soft spoken and very gentlemanly. He's by no means the crazy guy that he was on the ice, but he sure went crazy on the ice, and
Yeah.
sometimes yeah, for sure. So sometimes it worked for him, sometimes it worked against him.
Hey, so I hate the Rangers, but I'll tell you though, I don't know how I came about this, but I watched, to talk about, just to touch off Keenan here, I watched the special on the 94 Rangers, and like exactly what you said about how he has a shelf life. I mean, they basically went in, like he benched Brian Leach multiple times, and the Rangers were lucky enough. I mean, I guess they had leaders like Mark Messier and Graves and all those guys, and Richter, and they all banded together. But it just goes to show you, Keenan had a shelf life no matter where he went.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, all coaches do, but Mike had a definitely shelf life, a period period. And of course, Mike was only there in New York 1 year. The reason he didn't come back another year was because of disputes with Neil Smith, the general manager. But so he probably had a little bit longer after that cup. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that Keenan wanted was, and a little bit like Herb Brooks. Have you ever seen Miracle? Like he wanted himself to be the common enemy.
Yeah.
He wanted the whole team to band together with him as the enemy, and basically he was harder on them than any opponent would be. But it worked, and Keenan was a good coach for a long time, and the other part of it too is that Mike is he's not a bad guy. I don't know if I'd want him as my boss, but he's not a bad guy.
Well, didn't Keenan have issues, or didn't Jeremy Roenick have issues when he played for him in Chicago too?
Roenick had issues in Chicago. Brendan Shanahan had issues with him in St. Louis. Longer has certainly had issues with him in St. Louis. It's just the way Mike is.
Just no matter where he went, there was something. Well, him and Messi, back to what Joe was saying, like I think they even clashed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like Torts. Mike was several degrees harsher than Torts in terms of like how personal you get with players, but it's whatever it takes to motivate. So that's
it's a shame, like, not to interrupt you. It's sorry Tortorella wasn't here maybe, a few years back before they dismantled what they had. I mean, and I look at it like this: why did Peter Laviolette get fired? Like they always brought in great coaches, but just some of the front office decisions. You're like scratching your head at.
Well, Lavi kind of ran its course. I honestly think the big mistake was and I like Lavi, but the mistake was bringing Lavi back for 2013-14 and then firing him after 3 games.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, how do you just get rid of him? Then you give Berube the job.
Yeah, if you're gonna change coaches, you do it in the summer. Yeah. Just to have him start the season and then make a change, it didn't look good. I agree.
Do you think John Tortorella is the right guy for the Flyers rebuild? We're speaking about his toughness when we're trying to not lose. I mean, I guess we're trying to lose games on purpose, right? Because we want the best pick possible. Is he the right guy to do that?
Well, I mean, every coach wants to win, right? I mean, honestly, as much as people complain, the Flyers should have just outright tanked last year. What would you say was the most positive thing that happened last year? I would say it was that the young players developed pretty good, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, as tough as he is on players, I think that he helped a lot of players this past year, and can continue to do that, because I think you always play to compete, you always play to win.
Right.
A coach should never send his team out there with the idea of losing in mind.
Right.
So I love the competitiveness. There's not a ton of talent on the roster, but I never this past year, unlike previous years, I didn't think they went through the motions very often. I thought they were really competitive in most games, and I give Torch credit for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, Bill. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, man. We really appreciate your time. And I'm sure most of the people out there know where they could catch it, but where could everybody see your stuff?
So you can find my stuff pretty much every day at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
Gotcha.
I'm the team writer. I'm also the content manager for the Flyers Alumni Association, so FlyersAlumni.net. And I still do some work for Hockey Buzz too, HockeyBuzz.com.
Great. Well, hey, thanks a lot, man. And you know what? Hey, let's hope. No matter who the Flyers get, let's hope they get two studs on this team.
Sounds good, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Bill.
it.
We appreciate it.
Have a good night, Bill.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Thanks.
See ya.
Have a good one.
Hey, that was fun, man. That was. I was gonna say we've set a record. That's the most hockey we've ever talked on the Sully Squad.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll talk old school hockey any day, all day.
But
What's that?
I said
Who?
everybody had great points, man. I mean, picking his brain, and he had answers for it, which was nice.
Well, really, with almost within the last X amount of years, I mean, there really hasn't been much to talk about with this team.
No,
I mean, it's
definitely not.
I hate to say it, but
True.
it's like this team's been non-existent.
Like you said. Absolutely.
We got a comment here. Kyle Marcel says, "Talk more hockey." Hey, you know what? Diego, is that's your Kyle? That's the Kyle you know, right?
Yeah, it's my brother-in-law. Yep.
All right,
Kyle,
cool.
how you
Well,
doing?
I love talking hockey, man. Unfortunately, our team sucked this year. We're not like the Devils. He's the Devils fan, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're not good enough to talk right now. You know, we got about 10 minutes, and we suck. You know.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this: it's great talking old.
I'll tell you what, though, I got to admit, man, he has a good player, Jack Hughes.
What's that?
Who? What?
You know. Yeah.
Nigga, you're going in and out.
Yeah.
On my end, anyway.
I felt like Sean was breaking up. I was gonna remember the Full Metal Jacket. Were you about to call me an asshole?
How about now? Better?
Yeah, you're better.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Devils got Jack Hughes, though. They're pretty good. He's good.
The Devils got a great team. They're young. They're young from top to bottom. They're stacked.
Well,
I'll tell you what. If David Putty, if they were doing a Seinfeld episode right now, David Putty, he'd be coloring his balls in Devils colors this year because they were really good. Remember that Seinfeld episode where he saw the priest in the John? Remember?
man.
Yeah.
That was like a classic one, bro.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, look, Wednesday's a big night. You know, hopefully the Flyers can make some more trades. Maybe we'll actually get some like big guys like this here. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wait, I got one more comment here. Kyle says, dynasty incoming. You know what, though? You all had a dynasty back with Martin Brodeur and Scott Stevens. I mean, Eric Lindros still has brain matter on the Wells Fargo friggin' ice, dude.
Man. I was at that game.
Yeah, dude. I
was at that game.
Yeah, keep hurting our players, dude.
He should never had his.
He's had brain matter laying there still.
He did, man. That John ruined a Friday night, dude. Diego, I think I told you this story, man. I was 21 years old, about to be 22, man. And I had my Friday night all set. I'm like, all right, bet. Flyers game 7. We're going to win this, John. And then I'm going to Finnegan's Wake right afterwards. And Finnegan's Wake was – Sean, you remember Finnegan's Wake, right? Food, you guys remember Finnegan's, right, back in the day?
Absolutely.
Finnegan's was a spot, you know,
right?
Spring
Garden.
Yeah, so we're like, all right, bet, dude. We're going to throw it down. Flyers going to win this, John. And then Lindros gets laid the fuck out on the ice, and we're all like, oh shit, right? And then we watched it, and remember the Flyers had a chance. They were like, the game was like tied. I think Leclerc scored. Game was tied, and Patrick Elias, that freaking jerk off, scored with like 4 minutes left. and then the Devils, if you fell behind the Devils, bro, you were fucked, man.
Yeah, you couldn't beat them.
Hey, first couple games they were down, Flyers came back. I mean, they were up 3-1 in that series.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's a famous one. So what our work? So my buddy Mark Weathers, man, he greatest dude. Diego, I think I told you this story, but I don't know if I told Sean and Mike. So Mark was like the contrarian fan, right? Now Mark was a Philly sports fan, but he would break everybody's balls, right? So my boss Tony and Bill Murray and Tony's cousin Nick, I think this other guy, they were all hammered after game 4. And they left Mark a message because Mark used to bet. Like Mark bet like a jersey with Tony saying like Mark said the Devils were going to win. So they were like, they left a voicemail message and they're like, nah, hey, goodbye. So the Devils came back, won 3 in a row, and Mark saved that voice message all these years. He went out, he had a Martin Brodeur jersey hanging in his office just to break everybody's balls.
I was at that game 7 when Lindros got popped at center ice. You could hear a pin drop.
That was torture. But you know what though? Hey, so I want to get into some baseball or not. Well, yeah, I guess baseball, right? Yeah, we got. I mean, shit, we do have a baseball.
We got a 3-game series with the Cubs. Yeah.
Right, but I was going to say before we get into baseball, let me give a shout out to our sponsors, and one in particular because we're talking about getting jacked up on the ice, right? Now, let me tell you something. If you get jacked up in real life, if somebody Scott Stevens your ass, right, and you got brain matter coming from you, all right,
man.
Call my man Jason Fine, aka Attorney Big Al. He does slip and fall, workers' compensation, personal injury. Well, Eric Lindros should have called this cat, man. How much you think Scott Stevens would be fined nowadays for that hit?
I don't know, but this guy wasn't going to help Lindros brain laying on the ice.
Be banned for
Nah,
life.
that's true. And no offense, but my Friday night
He
was
probably
ruined.
be banned for the season.
My Friday night was ruined because I was depressed as shit. So Jason Fine wouldn't help me with my Friday night either, because I was in a bad mood when they lost that John. I didn't even go to Finnegan's. Now I'm thinking about it. But anyway, he's got 3 office locations throughout Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, New Jersey. Here's the phone numbers right there. You call Jason directly or Miko Spencer. Here's another one here. Any coffee drinkers out there? Again, if you get jammed up and you want some coffee to kind of wake yourself back up, call Monkey's say that 10 times fast. Monkey's Cold Coffee. You could use the promo code OOTBF at monkeycolt.com, monkeycoltcoffee.com at the checkout. The owner donates 10% of each sale to the National Pediatric Foundation at nationalpcf.org. So not only do they got good coffee, but they're good ass people. Here's another one here. My man Ken Fry. This is he hosts the Bat Cave, and my man Ken Fry's gonna on Wednesdays, and he's gonna have a therapy session because we're about to get into how our Phillies took out those New York Mets 2 out of 3 this week. Mets fans need therapy, so make sure you check his show out. But in the meantime, help him out here because he's suffering enough as a Mets fan. So make sure you check out this Not Your Average James. Because his team blows right now. So make sure you check them out. All right, here's all the shows, Out of the Box Sports. As you can see, here's all the shows on the network. There's something here for everybody. And I want to get into 2 more here. Fuji, where the hell did Fuji go? All right, well, anyway, I don't see Fuji. But here's Fuji must have, I lost Fuji for a second. But all right, well, check him out here. Saturdays, 11 a.m. We got a new show coming out. It's called Fuji's Philly Flair. So make sure you check that out. Here's any wrestling fans out there, Friday nights at 10:30. They got Atomic Drop podcast. So make sure you check that out. And I got one more here too, because I mentioned Ken Fry. So I just want to give, I want to give a little plug out here because, at Out of the Box Sports, now, we're Philly fans, okay? But the bottom line is, even though we're Philly fans, I'm bringing the old school back. And in a couple weeks, July 11th, we're targeting. I'm not sure. It may not be the 11th, but we're targeting the 11th around 6 o'clock. We're going to do an old school on the 1980s ever New York Mets, because I mentioned that Ken Fry's a Mets fan, and I was watching a show last week, and it got me to thinking we're going to do an old school on the 86 Mets, which again makes me sick because I'm a Phillies fan, but whatever, I'm a sports fan, and how they won the World Series, how it was like Wolf of Wall Street type stuff, and kind of break down about why they didn't win another one because they were a great team. So make sure you check that out. And I got one more plug here. Philly Sports Trips, the best in the land. I know we're going on this ourselves, the Washington trip, October 29th. So make sure you check them out. They have trips for every stadium. And make sure you check them out. Fuge, you're back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Here, I wanted to put this up for you real quick. What do you want to tell the people about this new show you got coming out?
It's a new show called Fuji's Philly Flair. I'm starting that off July 8th with former DJ of our current DJ still to this day, DJ Too Tough with Tough Crew. I don't know if everybody remembers back in the day, my part of town. Well, you don't know. It's going to kind of be like a Philly Flair show. Some local, just getting some local people from Philly, different stories, different backgrounds. If anybody knows anybody like trying to promote something in the Philly area, community-wise, reach out to me. I'm just, keeping it, it's going to be anybody from entertainment, the entertainment side, like I said, the Philly, Delaware Valley area. Doesn't exactly have to be Philly, but it's half-hour show. Like as I say, I'm going to be promoting it with DJ Too Tough this weekend, and we're going to kick it off. We're going to kick back some old school about Tough Crew, their history, DJ Too Tough, and the rest of those guys. Of course, he was, mixed in with Jazzy Jeff back in the day. So going to have some old school stories to kick that off with. Can't wait. DJ Too Tough, we've been talking different things, doing a promotion this week to get it out there. So tune in July 8th, 11 o'clock. Can't wait to kick this off. Got a couple guests lined up already, so can't wait.
Nice. Cool,
Can't wait to bring that Philly flair. So
yeah, and once again, man, hey, it's out of the box is more than just sports. So that's pretty cool.
Just going down that entertainment and
cool.
That entertainment music side of things.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Got a comment here, Adam Glenn. He says the wrestling show's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So yeah, all right. So before we get out of here, because I want to get I guess we'll get a little bit of Phillies here because the Phillies had a big win. Finally beat the Mets. And we got three with the Cubs coming up.
Did we beat the Mets? And the Mets beat themselves.
Yeah.
The Mets beat themselves, but that's all right. I'll take it because we never beat the Mets.
I'll take it. It took them beating themselves up for us to actually beat them.
Hey, the Mets, coming back, taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets, and then losing 2 out. Well, the one game was rained out, but
hey, the Mets got a lot of fans to beat
themselves.
You know what I'm saying?
The Mets are horrible.
Well, I mean, hey, what's the payroll? Like
200 mil on that toilet. 350 mil. It's down the
They're
toilet.
horrible.
You could buy a player like we said, Verlander, Scherzer is probably the only bright spot. But other than that, there's a lot of them have been shit in the bed.
Yeah, but Scherzer's on the other side of his career, like Verlander.
Yeah, true.
I didn't see yesterday's game.
Keep on spending that money, man.
Yeah, I was out, so I didn't see yesterday's game. But I mean, they must really miss Edwin Diaz because who was that? Jo, the Phillies. The Phillies won by like getting hit by the pitch and shit.
Twice. They got hit by 2 pitches back to back.
Yeah. Well, you know what the matter? Rob Thompson said, "Don't even try to get a hit. Just get hit and then rub some tussin on that, John. Right?
Well, why not? Take one for the team." Which Turner did.
I'll take it. So, all right. So I mean, it was we did take 2 or 3 from the Mets. It was a little disappointing week. I mean, in the sense that the Braves came here and kind of showed us what we kind of already knew, that the Braves are the class of the division. I mean, so I don't know exactly where we are behind. I mean, I know we were 10 games behind the Braves a few days ago. And so but I don't think we're going to catch the Braves. I think we're looking at the wild card route again. But I'm okay with that. Just keep winning series. I mean, the Braves beat us twice. That sucked. I guess the one encouraging thing about that is at least Nola. Nola pitched well at least, so that was good.
Well, hey, everybody, you're a month away from the trade deadline. I mean, this team is too talented not to make the playoffs. I don't care, a month ago, everybody's like, fire Thompson. Like, everybody keep your shirt on. Like, it's, it's a long season, for God's sake. Now, everybody wants to fire this person, get rid of this guy. Like, keep your clothes on.
We got one more piece.
If you're scared by a dog, like, let's all get over it, folks.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, right now, looking at the wild card standings, are 3 back. I mean, they're right in the thick of it. Come on. Trade deadline's a month away, and let's see what Dombrowski does. They need a fifth starter. The Goldschmidt rumors are still kicking around, which I don't know. I don't want to give up Painter, but is it now for this team? Time for this team to win?
They're not going to. I don't think there's any way in God's
No.
green earth they give up Painter. I mean, if they
No
make
chance.
if they
No,
make a
they're not.
move, if
No.
they make a move, it's going to be like, maybe they would consider Mick
For him.
Abel,
Mick Abel or McGarry
possibly,
at least.
for the right guy, or maybe they would consider McGarry. Yeah, that's his
Oh
name.
yeah,
right?
definitely those two.
I'll tell you the position they probably will trade though will be the center field position, because that's a position of strength. I mean, they have
Marsh.
they have
Marsh.
well, not I'm not talking about Marsh or Patchy. I'm talking about in the minor leagues. They got a kid named Rojas. They got the kid Crawford down in low A.
Right.
And I don't see them trading Crawford. Just became in the top 100 prospects all baseball, so I don't think they deal him. But you know what I mean. They may trade possibly the kid Rojas along with a couple other prospects, maybe a McGarry, and maybe they'll make a move for a fifth starter. Here's Dave Arnold with a comment here. He says 15-5 in the last 20 games, and they are still 3 games out of the wild card. Unreal. Well, you know what though? A lot of teams. I mean, San Francisco's playing well. The Marlins. I mean, shit. The Marlins got a guy that's hitting 400. That guy, Aries.
Lewis,
I never can say his name, but yeah, Areza.
Luis
Yeah.
Areza.
He was with Minnesota last year.
Yeah.
Minnesota has to be hitting themselves because they traded Paulo Lopez. But enough of that. What were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to say, me and Dave will be talking about him tomorrow night because we're doing extra innings is coming back tomorrow night at 8:30, and we'll be talking about the possibility of maybe a guy hitting 400. It hasn't happened since Ted Williams. I don't think anybody's even flirted with 400 since I want to say maybe Tony Gwynn, maybe like 30 some years ago. I think maybe.
What's the dude's average?
He was hitting. I think he was hitting like 400 up a few days ago. I'll look now.
No way he keeps that up for another 80 games.
What's that?
No way he keeps that up for another 80 games.
No, I don't think he does either. But it's still fun
He's
to bullshit.
399.
399.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
With an on-base
price,
percentage of 451, slugging 493. I mean, the dude does it all, man. And like you said, Joe, I think also put in Roger Maris in that category with Tony Gwynn's average, too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. So we'll get into that. All right, so let's just break down this Philly schedule real quick here. Here, let me see here. We got Philly schedule. So this week, we got.
They get the Cubs tomorrow.
Yeah, they got three in Chicago, and then they come back.
And the Cubs are on the way back from London. They played in London.
Okay, so basically three was
jet
Chicago,
lag,
and then
jet lag.
Definitely.
Cubs are right behind the Phillies in the wild card.
Yeah, so that Phillies have an advantage there. I mean, I'd be disappointed if they don't go at least two out of 3, and then you got the Nationals coming here. For 3, and honestly, I mean, I'm hoping for a sweep, but you better win 2 out of 3 at worst. So I'm hoping worst case the Phillies are 4-2 in the next 6. I'm hoping for 5-1. You know what? I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying the Phillies are going 5-1 in the next 6. That's where I'm going. I say they go 5-1, and if that's the case, then I think they're I think they'd be 7 games over 500, I believe. Let me see.
Yeah.
All right.
40 and 37 right now, going into tomorrow night.
What are they?
40 and 37.
Yeah, so
3 games over 500.
All right, so if the Phillies go 5 and if the Phillies could go 5-1, that would put them 7 games over 500. Yes, yeah. And I'll tell you what, if they could get there, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at.
Oh yeah.
Well, they should. I mean, you should beat up a team like Washington. Should.
Yeah, Washington blows. They suck.
You got Suarez, Nola, and Walker for the Cup Series. So that should be very interesting.
That back end. I mean, between Suarez and Walker, I mean, just been pitching lights out.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Suarez coming off that injury. The man's just. It's a shame last week they didn't get him any runs in his last outing, but
All right, so let's get everybody. Diego, what's your prediction the next 6? By the time we come back on, actually, well, we're not going to be back next week, but by the time in the next 6 games, where are we at?
I think Phillies are winning the next 6 games.
All 6?
All 6.
Damn, you're putting them on the table. All right.
All 6.
Okay. All right,
You play these bad teams, you got to beat these bad teams. You know, get all 6. Get 7 games above 500, 8 games above 500.
Then we talking. You know what? I'm a little nervous about Nola and Wrigley Field because if he pitched good as last time out, and if that wind's blowing out, that could be a long night. Sean, what the next 6? Where are we at, bro?
I'm riding with my man. 6 wins.
Damn, man, y'all got some balls tonight. All right, I like that.
We do.
Fuji, what are you saying, bro?
Go big or
I'm
go
go
home.
5-1.
Yeah, I'm going 5-1 as well. I guess Sean and Diego got the big balls. Me and Fuji got little pebbles tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
speak for yourself there.
we got. I feel like
dude.
I got the Flintstone fruity pebbles going on. You know what I mean? Shit.
Never mind. Let me hold my mouth. I'll hold my tongue for that one.
Good night.
No, it was a cereal. That's what I meant.
I forgot it.
Dave Yarnell.
I don't want to quote The Rock.
Phillies.
I don't want to say something The Rock once said. Never mind.
Dave Yarnell says the Phillies take 4 of 6. I'm not seeing 6 straight. Well, Dave's got minuscule balls on this prediction. All right, we're going 5-1.
You can't win every game in baseball.
Nah, you can't. You can't.
It's too long of a season.
Nah, and you know what? In the Cubs actually. I mean, like you were saying, the Cubs weren't that far behind us. I mean, they're right there. So,
like Diego said, I mean, they're coming off that London trip, so
They're going to be jet lagged, man, big time.
Oh yeah, Sean stated that too. So,
all right,
no way, London back to here. I'm sorry, you're not going to be game ready.
Yeah,
no matter how hard you try.
no,
Thanks for
Phillies Mets will be in London this time next year.
Yeah.
Everybody, check out Philly sports trips. And I know I didn't say anything about that earlier, but
no, definitely. And hang on, let me get one more comment here. Dave Arnold says Cubs just split with the Cards in London. Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, and hopefully they're tired as shit. One more thing. All right, so we won't be back. We won't be back till July. Shit,
10th.
wait a minute.
July 10th.
Okay.
Week,
I won't be back. I won't be back to the 17th.
All right,
where you headed?
I'm going to Wildwood for the week from the 9th to the 13th.
Nice.
All right. So we usually talk Sixers. We didn't talk any Sixers, but after watching that draft and what didn't happen, they don't really deserve much of our time.
Yeah, there wasn't nothing to talk about. We're the same exact team as we were last year.
All right, but quick question though. Jay, by the time we go back, free agency would already started. I guess, is James Harden still a Sixer?
I say yes.
I say yes.
As much as I
the way the situation's going and the wheels are turning, unfortunately, he's back here.
Yeah, that's all we got. So who are going to sign?
All right. And then one more. Is Tobias Harris still a Sixer? Or do you think?
Yes.
He's definitely
so
he's going to be a changed man. He's going to have some balls. He's going to play with tenacity, slam it in your face. No, we're going to
revive his career in his final year.
We're running it back. We're running it back with maybe a few little pieces here and there. You know, maybe one extra bench guy.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that. Ugh.
So get ready. Get ready for an off season of trying to sell Nick Nurse and Nick Nurse's new vision of the team with running it back, because that's all we're going to hear.
Yeah,
that's what I think too.
Yeah, I mean Nick Nurse, I do think he's a little better at coach than Doc.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sixers came out next year and we're the best team in the regular season. You know, but are they going to be the best team when it comes time to really clamp down and win big games and beat it hard and haven't been able to show that yet?
Yeah.
Oh. All I could say is thank God for 29 days of training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, listen. Hey, when we come back, we'll only be about 2 weeks away from training camp. So when we come back, hopefully we have some more. Hopefully the Flyers kill the draft. hopefully the Phillies have a couple good weeks, and then hopefully the what else was I going to say? And then
The
hopefully,
Flyers got a good draft pick.
yep. So let's go
Yeah.
back. Diego, when are you covering the Union again?
The next time I'm at the Union is July 15th. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, July 15th, 2 days before I'm back on this. So, looking forward to that. Can't wait.
All right, guys. Well, all right, everybody out there. Well, look, we'll be off next week. Everybody have a great 4th of July.
And
Go
don't do
Flyers,
Jason
go
Pierre-Paul.
Phillies.
Keep all your fingers.
Check out Fuji's new show on the what is it, the 8th?
The 8th week from this Saturday at 11.
All right.
11 a.m.
DJ Too Tough from Tough Crew mixing it up.
Nice.
Going back old
Baby.
school. Old
All
school Philly.
All right,
Nice.
everybody. Well, we'll see y'all.
All right, guys.